Hi and welcome to Inspire DIY. My name is Max and today I'm going to be showing you on how I made my most recent DIY project, which is a floating shelves. The reason why I decided to create this project myself is because I wanted something very cheap, yet something that looks very minimalistic for my new room designed. And for some reason, these two words don't seem to go well together. Here I'm simply measuring out the piece of 1x8 that I have left over from my previous project. Now if you don't have a miter saw, or jigsaw, or whatever, you can always go to a Home Depot or Lowe's or somewhere that offers like lumber cutting and ask them to cut custom to size so you don't have to do this yourself. And I don't want to give you the exact measurement, and that's because it really comes down to your personal preference of how long in terms of the width, the length, or even the thickness of how big you want your floating shelves to be, or any wood for that matter. If there's one thing I can tell you about woodwork that you should never skip on, and that is sanding process. Here I'm using a 120 grit, then I switch over to 150 and 180 and then 220. So the reason why I did that is because you want that smooth like surface of the wood. After sanding, I'm also using a bit of mineral spirits just to clean up all these woods that might be left over from the sanding process, as well as giving it a nice richer finish to the wood stain that I'm gonna do. I'm also applying a bit of pre-stained wood conditioner here, so that's just to help the wood stain itself not getting absorbed into the wood, but rather sit right on the top of it. Look really nice. For the choice of wood stain, I went with this provincial wood stain. I have this left over from my last project as well, so I just didn't want to buy a new one. But it came out a little bit darker than what I wanted in terms of, fitting to my room, but that's okay. Now be sure to wait for a good 24 hours for the wood stain to completely dry out before flipping it over and paint the other side if you want. And for the final top coating, I'm simply using this wipe-on poly that I coated about 3 times or so, because wipe-on poly is rather thin and you definitely want to coat it nicely. Lastly, for the installation part, which I didn't mention earlier, I'm actually using this L shelving bracket that you can find practically in every hardware stores. They cost around $2 to $3 depending on the size. It could be a little bit more or less depending on obviously the size you want. So here I'm actually installing this shelving bracket rather very close to the electrical outlet. So I was a little bit scared at first, but I have the stud finder as well as the live electrical wire detection, so I wasn't too concerned. And I for secure insurance, I guess, I also opened up the wall outlet itself just to see where the wire is running, and it's running above the outlet, so I wasn't that scared. So for the installation, I simply just used normal screws with my electrical drill and just drill it into the wall simply. Like I didn't even need to use those wall plug or anything to hold more securely, because I'm not putting something that's too heavy onto this shelf. It's just gonna be something that you use at night. Maybe you have like reading lights or whatever, so that works out really well for me. It will depends on your usage as well in terms of the installation. That you might need something that's a little bit more secure, or if not, you can just use my method of just directly screwing into the drywall. And I'm not using any special screws or anything. It's just something that you can find even in IKEA, for instance. Overall, I really like how the project turned out, and you can basically design this floating shelves yourself for like 20 maybe $30 at most. And thanks very much for watching.